All right, let's talk about one of the most common and, frankly, one of the most frustrating pieces of financial advice you'll ever get. Build an emergency fund. Everyone says you have to do it, but almost nobody explains how to pull it off without feeling like you're killing all your momentum. Because that's the real problem, isn't it? You're told to save up this giant pile of cash first, but it feels like you're hitting the pause button on your real goals. The exciting stuff like investing and actually building wealth. It feels like you're stuck in neutral. And this is where that frustration really starts to bubble up. You do the responsible thing, you put money away, but then you check your savings account, and the interest is so tiny it's almost a joke. It feels totally stagnant. Yeah, it's not like putting money in the market where you can at least see the potential for it to grow. This just feels like your money is sitting there, collecting dust, and actually losing value every single day thanks to inflation. It's this awful feeling of not just standing still, but actively moving backward. So this all leads to what I call the emergency fund paradox. You're doing the right thing, but it feels completely and totally wrong. And this frustration was captured perfectly by someone online who was struggling with this exact thing. I mean, this user, Sassbogs, just absolutely nails it. Can you imagine? 7 years of watching that money do absolutely nothing while markets are moving and investments could have been compounding? You can't help but ask, why am I holding on to all this cash when it feels like a giant wasted opportunity? Okay, so right here. This is the single biggest mindset shift we have to make. The entire reason we get frustrated is because we're judging this money by the wrong standard. Its job is not to make you rich. It's not an investment. So if it's not an investment, what is it? Well, its real job has absolutely nothing to do with getting a return. It's all about managing risk. We have to completely reframe this. It's not a wealth-building tool. It's a wealth-protecting tool. It's insurance. Let's just put these side by side. The purpose of an investment is growth, and to get that, you have to accept risk and volatility. But an emergency fund, its purpose is insurance. Its job is to prevent you from making a catastrophic, panic-driven decision, like selling all your stocks at the bottom of a crash when life throws you a major curveball. And this is the perfect analogy. You don't get mad at your car insurance company at the end of the year because they didn't pay you a dividend, right? No, you're just glad it's there in case something bad happens. Your emergency fund is insurance for your financial life. It's a cost you pay for stability. So, that brings us to the next massive question. How much is actually enough? That classic save 6 months of expenses advice can feel like you're being asked to climb Mount Everest in one go. It's so intimidating that a lot of people just quit before they start. A staged approach works so much better. So instead of focusing on that one giant scary number, let's break it into 2 smaller, more manageable stages. First up is the panic buffer. This is just a starter fund to handle those common, annoying surprises. Then, once that's in place, you work on the stability buffer. That's your full fund for the big stuff, like a job loss. This way, you build momentum. So how big should that first buffer be? Well, some really interesting research from Vanguard found that the median spending shock for a household, an unexpected car repair or a surprise medical bill, is about $2,000. So making that your first goal is incredibly powerful. It's achievable, and it protects you from the most common kinds of financial emergencies. Okay, once that panic buffer is locked in, then you can start chipping away at the bigger stability buffer. But notice that keyword essential expenses. This is not 3 to 6 months of your full paycheck. It's just the bare bones cost to keep the lights on and food on the table. And of course, the exact number depends on your life. If your job isn't super secure, you'll probably want to aim for the higher end of that range. So now you have your target numbers. How do you actually hit them without putting your entire financial life on hold? The trick is to use a system that lets you build this fund in parallel with your other goals. That's how you avoid that feeling of being stuck. This is the classic mistake that kills all motivation. People go all or nothing. They stop contributing to their 401k, they stop investing, and they pour every last dime into savings. It feels terrible because you're missing out on compound growth, and in many cases, you're literally leaving free money on the table from your employer's match. And you know what? The numbers prove this is a bad idea. Vanguard ran a case study on this exact problem. Look at approach 1. This person contributes just enough to get their 401k match while saving for the emergency fund. After 10 years, they end up with way more money, almost $10,000 more than the person who saved first, then invested. The lesson is clear. You don't have to choose. You can and you should do both at the same time. All right, so you're building your fund in parallel, but where do you actually put the money? Because this cash has such a specific job to be your insurance policy. It needs to live in a very specific kind of home. You can't just stick it anywhere. There are 3 rules here, and they are totally non-negotiable. It has to be liquid, meaning you can get it fast. It has to be accessible, no penalties or long waiting periods. And most importantly, it has to be safe. The principal value cannot, under any circumstances, go down. This is why a high-yield savings account is the gold standard. It checks all 3 boxes. But just look at a brokerage account. Sure, the money is liquid and accessible, but it fails the safety test spectacularly. Just imagine a market crash happens and you lose your job at the same time. Your emergency fund could be down 30 or 40% right when you need it most. You'd be forced to sell at the absolute worst time. It's a disaster. So after all this, why does it matter so much? Well, the real payoff of an emergency fund isn't the tiny bit of interest it earns. The real payoff is in the behavior it allows you to have. And that behavior is what actually builds long-term wealth. This is the real magic of it. A proper emergency fund is a behavioral tool. It's the buffer that stops you from panic selling your stocks when the market tanks. It's the wall that keeps a surprise car repair from turning into high-interest credit card debt. It protects your smart, long-term investment plan from your emotional, short-term reactions. And this kind of stability is desperately needed. Some studies show a staggering number of people, in some countries as high as 75%, don't have enough saved to cover a small emergency. This leaves millions of families vulnerable to financial shocks that could and should be just manageable setbacks. And that's really the final takeaway here. It's not idle cash. It's not money doing nothing. It's your financial defense, and its job is to keep you in the game. Once that stability is in place, everything changes. Your stress drops, you make better decisions, and your investments finally have the protected space they need to grow for the long haul. So now that you have that solid foundation of stability, the next step is to build the engine for growth. And in our next explainer, we're going to show you exactly how to set up an automation system that builds your wealth on autopilot. No willpower required.